Outside of the crazy ladies on The View, the evidence is now piling up that Disney is ready to call uncle. They are moderating, getting away from the divisive culture war that they have been engulfed in for years. The latest evidence brought exclusively to you right now is the biggest yet. Disney seems to be bringing back, at least in part, Gina Carano to Star Wars. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we endeavor to bring sanity to a world in need. Happy to do so today, and we have Jonas J. Campbell with us for this breaking exclusive. And Jonas, I would love to claim that I am the one who is breaking the scoop. It would be untrue. Jonas, this is yours, and I'm very proud to bring you back on as the investigative reporter you are. Also want to send a shout out, a thank you to some anonymous folks who helped us achieve this. Jonas, welcome back to the channel.
Thank you very much. And I cannot take credit for all of this, other than that I brought the information. There are obviously a lot of people who help me in this role, and if you want to reach out and help us get the truth out there, hey, just hit me up. Twitter's a great place to reach me.
That's right, folks. We love when we get people who are willing to send us information early. We have, I guess, staked the channel on that sort of thing in the first year and the second year as well. 92.5% accuracy rating. It's because of people like Jonas who help us vet this stuff, and we're so appreciative. Folks, as we get ready to get started, consider clicking the like button. This is out of That Park Place. It is exclusive. You will hear it nowhere else until now. Also, take a look down here in the bottom right of That Park Place. You'll see an article that I put out late last night. Parts of upcoming Snow White trailer allegedly leak online, show drastic change in narrative. Looks like Zegler's going to be the one saving the prince. Go check out that article. You'll love it. All right, let's click here and find out what this is. It says, Gina Carano returns to Star Wars lore. New Lucasfilm publication includes Cara Dune. And Marvin Montanaro put this together for us. It says, to the shock of many, Gina Carano appears in the new Star Wars encyclopedia, published by DK and released this month. However, there's absolutely no mention of any characters associated with the failed Disney Plus series, The Acolyte, the brainchild of a former personal assistant to one Mr. Harvey, Leslie Headland. Carano's character, Cara Dune, gets a large photo and a full write-up detailing her history, military service, and adventures with The Mandalorian and Grogu. Dune was prominently featured in the first two seasons of The Mandalorian and was set to receive her own spin-off series on Disney Plus called Rangers of the New Republic. Now, Jonas, the reason this is so interesting and fascinating is because currently, Gina Carano is involved in a lawsuit against Disney. Elon Musk is funding that lawsuit. We just found out a day or two ago, another example of Disney moderating, that Disney is now advertising on X. And it's just so funny because when they left X, when they said, oh, we're not going to advertise anymore here because Elon Musk has stinky opinions, when they left, they made a big to-do about it, big hurrah. There's no loud echoing huzzah from Disney when they come back. There's leaks to business publications, and it seems to me that maybe the Disney stock is rising because people are realizing they're moderating. But Jonas, you had the scoop on this. I'd like to know more about it, and if they're putting Gina back into their merchandise, which an encyclopedia published by them is merchandise, that would represent a major change. Jonas, walk us through just how eager Disney has been to wipe her off the face of Star Wars, and why this is such a seismic shift.
Well, and you can read some of the additional details, of course, in this piece that Marvin wrote up, and Marvin always does a fantastic job. And when we spoke to our sources about this, and these are people familiar with the production of these books, and we saw that in the past, Gina was not included in any of these encyclopedias before this point. So I'm not saying that that was a specific call made by Lucasfilm. It could have been pre-Mandalorian. But right about the same time that they decided to do the Mandalorian book, they also fired Gina Carano, and then that book was completely canceled. So there was no representation for DK. This is a company that does all kinds of fan-based encyclopedias. They do Lego, they do Marvel, they do Lego Star Wars as well.
But it's all approved by Disney, right?
Right. Yeah, they do work hand in hand with Disney. And this is an outlet that They will do the work and they will consult with Disney. And in this author, Adam Bray, you should go check out his work and maybe even order directly from him, as this tweet indicates here. He was on the project for a very long time. He is no longer working on this edition. They did not contact him in any way in order to do this one. He was cut out of the project because they wanted to go more diverse with the authorship of this encyclopedia. So his name is still attached to it, but he receives no funding, no credit. He gets credit, no funding, and he has no say on this that has his name attached to it. He did say in the past as well that there's some oddities in here. Like, for instance, the ship that was piloted by Jango Fett and Boba Fett is referred to as Boba Fett's ship, even when it was owned by Jango Fett.
Now, in the past, Disney has taken severe steps to make sure that Gina Carano's depiction of Cara Dune is not
sorry. That was the original question that you asked me, and then I started getting excited about the story. There will be play sets, in fact, that of scenes that involve Cara Dune, that they remove her from the play set altogether and replace with a random Mandalorian, maybe somebody who's not even in the scene. They really have gone out of their way to produce a minimal amount of Cara Dune merchandise, which of course in the collector's market, and there is a large portion of the base that has seen no problem with any of the things that Cara Dune has said. So they've ignited a collector's market for Cara Dune merchandise. I have some here actually on my desk.
And the reason that the merchandise featuring Cara Dune is so valuable on places like eBay is because Disney, up until now, would not allow Cara Dune or Gina Carano to be depicted in any of that merchandise. So, Jonas, it's my estimation somebody at a very high level had to have said reverse course. And
it had to be. It had to be. Maybe they also saw the lines at conventions where that Park Place reporters would be at conventions and see lines for people like Darth Maul, Ray Park, the actual actor there, or Peter Cullen. And the line for Gina Carano would be equal length to the Peter Cullen line and the Ray Park line, even though those people were not yet signing. By the way, if you have never met Peter Cullen in person, he's a joy to meet. He's a great guy. But even with the Gina Carano line moving for a previous 2 hours, it was obviously the largest line there. And no offense, and I won't say their name, but there was a person who was just announced at the time that we did the reporting to be in a Marvel production as one of the main villains, and his line was okay-ish and died down pretty quick. This is she's a person who should probably be towards the top of the list, but we're also hearing indications that people maybe higher up at Disney were pushing against having her at these Comic-Cons and maybe taking the screws to people who run them to try to get her off of the list. So this is a huge change in temperament. If Lucasfilm would have been the one to have to say yes to this, for Lucasfilm to say, you know what, our fan favorite character, which I appreciate that sites like THR are now saying fan favorite character as opposed to controversial character.
Right. That means the narrative has shifted because places like THR, they are trade publications, and the trade publications, one of their jobs in Hollywood, unofficially, is to carry the narrative that is preferred by the big studios and corporations. So if now they're calling Gina Carano and Cara Dune a fan favorite, then that means it's okay from Disney. In my belief, that's what's being said. Jonas, let me show you this. People don't want to give us credit for getting this right, but after the election, Disney's stock has soared. And people might say, well, that means, that means that you guys are wrong. Disney's doing just fine the way they are. And the answer to that, I think, is no. Disney has done a 180 on so many things, and we could run through the list, whether it is declaring they're going to put moderates and conservatives on The View and ABC News, whether it was forcing Rachel Zegler to issue an apology, whether it is returning to X and funding Elon Musk, the guy with the big lawsuit against them, funding him by advertising on his platform. At the same time, the crazy zany celebrities and Mark Hamill and all the rest are running over there to Blue Sky, the latest trend that'll last about 2 or 3 months. Same time they're doing that, all the corporations are coming back, Disney included, to advertise on X because they know the power there. Disney now with this Gina Carano news, and I think that's the biggest indicator that they are white flagging this. But the stock is rising, and I think, Jonas, it's because people like Hugh Johnston, the CFO who was brought in, people like Gorman, who was brought in from Morgan Stanley, they seem to be moving Disney in a way that Iger was not. They seem to be moving Disney into a moderate, centrist, economically viable position, and the stock is exploding as a result.
And you make a really good point there. You make a really good point there because Bob Iger has been back for years now, and we haven't seen the product of whatever changes he's been making ideologically. So I don't think he can take credit here unless he has changed very recently on this. I mean, this book would have been in production for a little while. They would have set some things in motion, and we do see some indications there, but like the fact that The View is now looking for a Trump supporter to be a one of the panelists on The View, a notoriously anti-Trump show, to the point where they have to do legal notes on the show because of some of their less hinged takes here. I think that there is something going on internally at the Walt Disney Company that we're now seeing some outside fruit of it. I'm not saying that the company has changed ideologically, but they might be changing as far as what they are willing to bring to market.
I mean, I don't know what bigger there could be than one day. I mean, every day it's something that comes out that you're like, well, that's a total shift in where they were. You know, they were ardently partisan. And now they've changed. I want to say, though, folks, I don't think you're going to see Bob issue this kind of a post on X in 2025 in January. You can see here, Iger was very in tune with a very particular set of political beliefs and agendas. I don't think we're going to get it to that degree, but who could have ever seen this coming? Look at this. This is further down in that article from That Park Place. In the same Star Wars encyclopedia, and you would think that future iterations of that encyclopedia will probably use the same assets. At the same time that Lucasfilm is recognizing Gina Carano and Cara Dune, the Acolyte is nowhere to be seen. And not only that, but upcoming Star Wars properties that they don't even know how they're going to perform, but they seem to think they're not going to perform well. They're not in there either. So something big is happening when the Star Wars stuff that we said enough of this, nobody wants it. When that's out, it's out, and Gina's in. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy is the one making these calls. I think this is coming from somewhere up higher saying, listen, we're done. We're done.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think Kathleen Kennedy has even heard of the Star Wars encyclopedia. If you
no, but hold on, Jonas, I'm going to push back on that. Mm-hmm. Kathleen Kennedy might not have heard of an encyclopedia. But the idea that they would feature anything with Cara Dune and Gina Carano, while there's a lawsuit of the magnitude we're talking about, that's a higher up decision because her inclusion represents bringing back that character, and there's financial issues there. And I don't know if an encyclopedia is included, but I'll guarantee you that there's stuff financially that happens if they sell Cara Dune merchandise that has Gina Carano's appearance. Like, that triggers some stuff. So whoever made the call, we're going to put Cara Dune back into merchandise, that's a big call. Now, you're welcome to push back on that. You may say, well, Pro, you're off on it.
No. I think you're correct. I just don't think that she cares about the encyclopedia. The philosophy of it, I totally agree with. One thing I want to add in here, for those of you who say that, well, the Acolyte's too new, therefore they wouldn't have put it in there. The Acolyte was done in production for years before, for a very long time before it came out. Obviously, we're still trying to get some of the information on how much it ended up costing, because it may cost, in the end, like $300 million to make, a ridiculous sum of money for something with such poor returns. But if I'm not mistaken, Nyx from Star Wars Outlaws, the little fuzzy creature, that did end up in this book. So there are more recent things than the Acolyte that ended up in the Star Wars encyclopedia. By the way, it's a renaming of Ultimate Star Wars or something like that. So this is like the 4th edition of this book. None of the previous editions have included Cara Dune, and now she is, well, very prominently featured. It's not like it's a side article here. She is, Gina Carano is there, right there on the page. I think there might also be some other references to her in there as well.
All right, so let's talk about a little bit of speculation here, Jonas, and that is, I wonder, does this indicate in any way, might we see Disney settle at great expense to them? Might we see them settling with Gina Carano to get out of this situation? And I would assume that if they're going to settle with Gina, that would mean she gets the things that she's asking for. One of the things she's asking for is she wants to be reinstated completely, totally, utterly into Star Wars. I can only imagine how that would be received. But do you think Disney's ready to say, we're done now? We have had enough of the culture war, and bringing back Gina would be on par, in my estimation, with retconning the sequel trilogy. Both would be seismic shifts from Disney. I wonder if they're ready to do that. What say you?
I think I don't know, because this is such a big deal here, because at this point it's become a token of the culture war at large to have such an important property as Star Wars, to have this character of Cara Dune, and the fact that Gina said things that a lot of people were wondering about. I mean, on a giant mass cultural scale, they put their entire thumb on her politically. And I think there's a lot of people that, whether or not they cared about The Mandalorian, they took it very personally that someone like Gina Carano was taking the brunt of something that they agreed with. And they were saying, no, you're despicable. You're horrible. We don't want to have anything to do with you. You know, the stock chart, if you want to bring that up, you can talk about Disney being at their highest point right about the time that they fired Gina Carano here, if you go to the 5-year, and now they're just now recovering from that. Correlation is not causation. We know that here, but it is also the moment at which the Disney company became very open about their disdain for half the audience, and then the normies eventually caught on. Now we have other people.
Hold on 1 second, Jonas. You've made a point that it cannot be lost. I just want to show people this. 2021 to 2022, we often declare that to be the Bob Chapek era because it was, and he reigned supreme in terms of where the Disney stock was. And then they had to remove him because they said he was so terrible, and they had to get Iger back. But as you have correctly framed this, Jonas, there's another way to look at that. And that is, this is not only the Bob Chapek era, this is the centrist era. This is when Disney decided we're going to moderate. We're not going to fight our audience. We're not going to be mean. We're going to try to pull in the biggest demographic we can. And then in 2022, the early part of that, that's when they took on Florida over that legislation. That's when the Reimagine Tomorrow stuff started coming out. That's when you had the leaks about the not so subtle agendas that were being promoted, and the stock crashed, and it's been down, down, down. You had a lift as investors were excited that maybe Nelson Peltz, Elon Musk, and the rest were going to get a place on the board. And then after that didn't happen, stock drop. Now what do we got? Now we're finding out since the election that Disney is moderating, and now you're right, it is picking back up again. It seems like, and perhaps we're having the wrong correlation, perhaps we have a bias here, but it would seem to me that there's at least some influence on the stock from whether or not Disney is willing to step away from divisive issues and seek out the broadest possible market it can. I think you're exactly right.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'd also like to point out there's video from around January 7th of 2021. Wonder what happened the day before there, where Bob Iger explicitly told employees that anything that they want to talk about is okay because it's not political anymore, and removing things from the political and stating them as a fact is what they did at this point. So to go back to your question about whether or not Gina Carano is going to get a settlement here, maybe she is, but I think for the sake of all of us, it probably needs to come with a very clear apology, and not like a Rachel Zegler apology, like someone on camera, probably Bob Iger, apologizing for this. No. Kathleen Kennedy. Oh my.
I'd do a duo.
Imagine.
Let's do a duo. A duo. Bob and Kathy together. Nothing would make me happier, Jonas, than seeing Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger apologize to Gina and for her to be included in the upcoming movie and all of that. It would make my day. And I'd say hip, hip, hooray for Gina and everybody who has been supporting her, pulling for her, rooting for her. And folks, I can only presume and assume that it's most of you because, well, this audience has the highest IQ on the internet. Jonas, what a phenomenal job you have done in bringing this to all of us. I want to thank you truly for your work here in uncovering this. And again, a thank you to, who is it that died trying to get the plans for the Death Star? Who is that, Jonas?
The many Bothans?
Yes, the many Bothans. The many Bothans out there who brought this to you as well. Jonas, it's your chance now. Plug what you're doing over on That Park Place, as well as what people can expect from you next time. Maybe you have some giant scoop coming tomorrow. I don't know.
But maybe I do. You never know who might reach out. It could be you if you are out there and have information that you think would be helpful in trying to get the truth out there. That Park Place, however, is the first place that you need to go for information like this. That's the website. Of course, the channel is where you can go for excellent theme park analysis. If you're wanting the video game stuff over there on YouTube, you can go to That Game Place. We do have on Thursday mornings a live stream called Morning Magic, where we fill you in on everything that is going on in the theme park world. And tomorrow we are going to be talking about a nasty change that Disney is testing out on their ticket pricing at the international parks there. They don't want you to know how much it costs to get into their parks, and they reserve the right to change that as you are considering buying them. So yeah, we're going to talk about that.
And folks, that middle article on the right there, She-Hulk replaced by Deadpool on official Disney Plus Marvel Hub. Add another feather to the argument we're making that Disney is moderating rapidly to get out of this. That's what I'm hearing. Kathleen Kennedy might be interested. Bob might be interested in that ad that's playing at the bottom there. It depends. You're going to need it if this keeps going on. Stockholders, you might have to order some Depends because you might not be able to hold your water any longer. All the excitement you're going to have over that stock exploding. It turns out reaching out to the most people possible pays dividends. All right, folks, pun intended. Click the like button, share, subscribe, click it and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on the great return of Gina Carano, at least a little bit. We'd love to hear from you. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, protect the Bothans, and keep having fun.
Wilton, what are you doing?
Well, I was feeling really behind and uneducated on all the happenings in the entertainment world. So, I was trying to work out a solution, specifically around 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And, well, this is what I came to.
That's not what that means.
Oh.
But, why wouldn't you just watch Midnight's Edge on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays? And on Tuesdays, on WDW Pro's channel, you got the Pro Show, and on Thursdays, you got That Park Place with Jonas and Vash.
Jonas? That guy sucks.
Well, feel free to jump in the chat and remind him of that regularly.
I won't feel free. I am free, baby. But I think you forgot something important.
What's that?
On Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, there's something really special that happens on Florals from Under a Rock.
Ah, right.
Under a Rock, where we don't simply talk about entertainment. We actually try to be the entertainment. Which, I mean, Floral, you're actually kind of dragging the show down, you know what I mean?
Well, theoretically, you and everyone else knows now what's happening at 12 Eastern Time throughout the week.
Yep. Now, just a point of clarity. You say 12 p.m. Eastern Time that the Midnight's Edge will be happening. Is Tom gonna commit to being on time?
That's a fair question.
Okay.